This is insane. If you haven't seen, we got some conflicting Matthew Stafford rumors regarding the Las Vegas Raiders, and we are going to break it all down. Right now, Ian Rapoport and Jordan Schultz are basically in a boxing match on Twitter, going back and forth at each other, saying, you're wrong and you're wrong. And I'm going to tell you who I believe, and at the end of today's show, I think history has a way of repeating itself. And you're going to lose your mind when you see the end of today's show. So for those of you that do not know, Jordan Schultz put this out. And I already put out a little bit of a short, talking about how sources, Raiders minority owner Tom Brady recently hosted Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford at his home in Montana, where they spent time together and went skiing. Brady has been actively trying to convince Stafford to join the Raiders, and discussions are ongoing. So that was interesting, right? He also then added several teams are interested in Stafford if the Rams decide to move him, with Las Vegas believed to be the most aggressive suitor. I promise you this right now. If the Raiders go out and trade for Matthew Stafford, I'm going to go live on this show. We are going to party our you-know-what's off. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on. It's going to be an absolute shit show that I can't wait for. So then Ian Rapoport clapped back, and he said Raiders minority owner Tom Brady and the Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford ran into each other at a ski resort in Montana, sources say. The meeting, unplanned, was not extensive or in-depth and did not include Brady hosting or recruiting Stafford, despite reports saying otherwise. So then, guess what? Schultz said, if you really think Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford just happened to run into each other at a ski resort in Montana, of all places, at the exact same time, I've got a bridge to sell you. They were together over the weekend. It happened. Multiple teams are interested in Stafford, and Brady has been leading the charge to get him to the Raiders if the Rams decide to trade him. I'll tell you this, I love when two people who no doubt have a lot of sources go against each other. But my question to you is this, who do you believe? Do you believe Ian Rapoport, or do you believe Jordan Schultz? Type IR for Rap, type JS for Jordan Schultz. My answer is coming up here after this YouTube ad break. I believe Jordan Schultz, and not only is it the one that I want to believe, it's the messaging that where Schultz talks to players, Schultz talks to agents. That's where a lot of his sources are. Rap gets them more from the NFL. So think about teams out there. Teams probably don't want to know, or the Raiders don't want to leak the information that Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford were together in Montana, because everyone's going to scream tampering. I'll admit this. I'm not actually sure what the tampering rules are for NFL owner and player that's kind of happening, like that's in, or a player like Matthew Stafford that obviously is on the Rams. You heard John Spytek, Pete Carroll talk about this yesterday, where they were like, yeah, I'm not going to talk about another player on another team regarding Stafford, which is the correct response from Pete and from Spytek, because you don't want to get in trouble for tampering. But in terms of an NFL owner, Tom Brady, as far as I'm concerned, and from what I understand, you're allowed to at least have some sort of communication from time to time. But the reason why I believe Jordan Schultz is because look at the messaging that is out there. And, I get they could have randomly ran into each other in Montana. But am I the only one that remembers something? And I remember a situation regarding Matthew Stafford randomly running into somebody. And we're going to revisit that because sometimes history has a way of repeating itself. And man, I really hope that it does. I'll tell you what this history is here in just a moment. Huge shout out to our sponsor, though, Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. All you got to do is pick more or less. It's really that easy. And Prize Picks puts their members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this basketball season. Which ones are going up? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today and get $50 instantly. When you play $5, you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Whether you want to watch a game, like I was watching the Luka Mavs game yesterday, Luka, Lakers, Mavs game. I know. Sorry, man. But being able to watch that game for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and just being locked into that, plus on top of that, my fiance, Alex, wanted to be able to watch the game. When you have the opportunity to put money in your pocket and you're entertained, I'm just telling you this right now, it is a win-win type of situation. So you can do also season long for baseball. Like, I'm not a big baseball fan. I love the New York Mets, and I'll watch the Mets from time to time. But if you need a way to be able to watch a little bit more baseball now that football's over, PrizePicks is where that action is at. So download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. So let's talk about history here on the Raiders Report, because I'm not kidding you. The moment I saw the report come out from Schultz that Brady and Matthew Stafford ended up meeting in Montana, the first thing that I thought of was like, dude, is Stafford about to do this again? Because this is from Ari Meroff all the way back. You got to look at the date. February 1st, 2021. My favorite nugget from the Stafford deal: Sean McVay and his fiancee Veronica were in Cabo while all this was going down. Stafford and his wife Kelly also happened to be there. After the deal was done, they all met up to have dinner and celebrate a fresh start. I want you to go back and I want you to do your own little homework on the Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay randomly running into each other in Cabo, and then a trade ends up going down. The trade for Stafford, if y'all remember originally, like back in their time when it was the Lions and him shipping over to the Los Angeles Rams, that news kind of broke when it wasn't supposed to break, and that news ended up happening. So technically, a trade can't go down until the new league year begins. And once that new league year begins, which is on March 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, there's also a legal tampering period, which you can talk to players and whatnot 48 hours before the new league year starts. So if a trade ends up going down, it can't happen until then. So the Raiders are a team that looks like a front runner going out and trying to get Matthew Stafford. Now, the reason why, and we'll break down what Stafford's contract looks like here. We'll also break down what it could potentially look like for the Raiders and what a trade could look like regarding Stafford and the Raiders. But as it stands right now, Stafford doesn't have a lot of guarantees on his contract, which is what he wants. And you can see what it would cost the Rams to trade him compared to keep him. But on a new deal, the Raiders are going to have to give Stafford a brand new contract and $50 million. Though, since we're talking about history, do you remember when John Spytek brought down Tom Brady to Tampa Bay? What they did was they gave him a 2-year deal that was fully guaranteed. And if I'm Stafford and I want guaranteed money and I want to be able to go to an organization like the Raiders, you could see them do something very similar. So what if the 2 years that right now are on Stafford's deal, the Raiders just go, well, what if we just keep those 2 years and I'm just going to give you $100 million fully guaranteed? $50 million per year. You also give him a larger signing bonus, which is going to lower his cap. So this is more of just a guesstimate, right? Because the Tom Brady deal was essentially, I want to say like 60% of his contract was his base salary, which was his salary cap in 2025. And I could see the Raiders trying to do that. Hell, even if you were the Las Vegas Raiders and you wanted to give him a 1-year extension and then it's $50 million a year, Matthew Stafford, 3 years on the Raiders, gives you the best chance to succeed. So let's talk about this. And every time I throw out a Stafford trade idea, I'm going to switch it up just a little bit from time to time. So would you do this? Raiders get Stafford, and you get a 6th-round pick from Los Angeles. This would give the Raiders now 4 6-rounders. And the Rams sound like they're looking for a second, but would you potentially take a 3rd and a 4th? The Raiders also would have that other 3rd from the Devontae Adams deal. I don't know exactly what it's going to cost, but for the Raiders, Tom Brady to invite or randomly run into Matthew Stafford, however you want to say it in Montana. It is clear as day that this organization is going all in on Stafford. My only hope, though, that they don't miss on Stafford and the Raiders aren't getting used by Stafford's team the same way the Raiders got used by Ben Johnson, Ben Johnson's agent, just to drive up his price tag. I love conflicting stories. I love reports out there. That's what the offseason's all about. But you know what also it's about? It's about winning. And going out and trying to get Matthew Stafford is a winning type of move for the Raiders. I will do my best to keep you guys up to date on social media, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Twitter at MitchellRens365. subscribe. And if you're trying to party with us tomorrow, we are doing a huge celebration of life for Brandon Jasper. Add me as a friend on Venmo. We're going to be getting wet and wild here on the Raiders Report. Matthew Stafford, I got to know, how was the skiing with Tom Brady? What a story. Absolutely insane. And that's how I got to end this show.